Australia, the land of opportunities, right? A place where you're supposed to work hard, buy a home, and eventually you'll be set for life sitting on a beach, not having to worry about the world going by. Well, here's the truth about that no one seems to want to admit. Australia has turned into one big Ponzi scheme, and there is no turning back from that. And honestly, once I came to terms with that, I started seriously questioning if we'd ever live in Australia again. And I know that sounds extreme, but stick with me for a minute, because when you break it down, it's actually crazy how we've all bought into this idea that owning a property is the only way to get ahead. But there's a huge problem with this collective delusion. At the end of the day, Australia will never have enough houses or apartments for everyone. And yet, we keep bringing more people into the country, because for Australia to survive as a nation, we have no choice. It's honestly a lose-lose situation for pretty much all Australians. So let's break down what I'm talking about here. Australia's housing market is completely out of control. Prices have skyrocketed, rents are going through the roof, and for what? The idea is that you can get ahead in life by buying a home, holding onto it, and waiting for the capital gains to roll in. That's the Australian dream, right? But here's the catch. There will never be enough houses or apartments to go around. Never. You only have to look at cities like Sydney and Melbourne and see the property prices exploding over the last decade. And it really just confirms everything I'm saying here. Because everyone believes that if they don't buy now, they'll be left behind. And it's honestly a frenzy everywhere, not just in the big cities. Even in regional areas, prices are rising because there are more people priced out of the major cities. But at some point, this bubble has to burst. We've reached a point where demand will always outstrip supply. And it's only going to get worse. Yet the system depends on that demand to keep the economy moving. More people, more need for housing. But guess what? We simply can't build enough. As long as we keep pushing this idea that property is the only way to build wealth in Australia, ultimately we're all playing into a game that's set to implode. Because it's a well-known fact that Australia needs immigration to survive economically. We need new people coming into Australia to keep the economy growing and to sustain population growth and to fill the jobs that most Aussies don't want or can't be bothered doing. But here's the problem. We can't house everyone. Every year, tens of thousands, or even more recently, hundreds of thousands of people are brought into this country chasing the same dream. And there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that we're already struggling to provide housing for the people that are already here. On top of that, the rising cost of living due to inflation is crushing most Australians, except for the lucky few that got on the housing train at the right time. If you bought a house early on, you're sitting pretty. But for the rest of us, trying to get by while prices go up and wages stay the same, it's a genuine day-to-day struggle. And this has led to a massive divide that's opening up in our society in Australia. It's like Australia is becoming two countries. Those who were fortunate enough to buy homes years ago or get in at the right time, and those who can't even dream of affording one now. And with more and more people entering the country, the housing situation is just going to get worse. But as Australians, we don't talk about it. We just keep hoping things magically improve. But before we left Australia, just for context, myself, my wife, and my two kids, we left Australia 2 years ago to live in Southeast Asia because quite frankly, we were getting priced out of Australia. We tried saving up a deposit for a house for years. Every time we thought we were getting closer, property prices jumped again. And then we were just back to square one. It was like a literal never-ending cycle. Save up, save up, save up, get enough for a deposit, and then bang, the prices goes up, which changes our borrowing capacity. Save and save and save again, bang, property prices go up, we can't buy anymore. So we resigned to being part of the renting class, paying exorbitant amounts for rent with no way out. And this is what it's like for so many people across the country. This system isn't designed to help everyone. It's rigged for those who got in early and at the right time. So that's why I say it's a Ponzi scheme. The way to get wealth in Australia right now is simple. You buy a house, you hold onto it, and wait for its value to go up. And then you sell it for a massive profit, or you borrow against it to buy more. But here's the problem. For that system to work, more and more people need to keep entering the market. It's all built on the idea that the economy will stay strong forever, but that can't go on forever. It's unsustainable. At some point, the Australian economy or the world's economy will turn. And at that point, the whole housing Ponzi scheme in Australia will collapse. And those at the bottom people trying to get their first home, immigrants trying to settle down in their new life in Australia will be the ones left holding the bag. As you know, in any Ponzi scheme, the people getting in last are the ones that are affected the most. And the thing is, the people who are doing well in the current paradigm in Australia of buying property, waiting for capital gains, and just buying more, aren't providing any new innovation. They're ultimately just flipping houses and making money off the fact that more people are forced into this market. We've shifted from a country that used innovation and hard work to gain wealth to a country that just buys property and expects it to magically go up and bathe. Because of this collective delusion, it's nearly impossible for regular Aussies to enter the housing market. The idea that owning property is the only way to build wealth has left so many of us, myself included, on the outside looking in. There is a whole generation of Australians destined to be part of the rental class forever. And that's exactly what my family and I realized. We could have stayed, played the game, chased the Australian dream, but we decided to do different. We voted with our feet, we packed our bags, and we moved to Malaysia. Why Malaysia? Well, here we can actually afford to live the life we want. We're not buried under rent or mortgage payments, and we enjoy a better quality of life. But the sad truth is that not everyone can do the same thing. Not everyone has the option to pack up their bags and leave Australia. So what happens to those who are left behind? What happens to the Aussies that are stuck in a system that just doesn't serve them anymore? For us, leaving Australia wasn't just about money, it was about freedom. The freedom to live our lives without being trapped in a system where the cost of living just keeps going up and up with no end in sight. But for those who don't have that option, what do? They're stuck in this endless cycle with no way out. So where does this leave us? Honestly, it's hard to say. Australia needs immigration to keep the economy running, but we'll never have enough housing to keep up with the demand. People will continue to buy homes expecting capital gains, but at some point, the cracks in the system are going to show it's just a matter of time. And what worries me is that we're reaching that breaking point. Younger generations are being told that if they don't get on the property ladder now, they'll never make it. But the truth is, they're being asked to buy into a system that's already broken. They're being asked to be the top of the Ponzi scheme. And it's not just the young, it's middle-aged Australians, it's immigrants, and it's families who are all feeling the squeeze. How long can we pretend that this is normal? I'd love to know your thoughts about that in the comments. And so getting back to the title of this video, it's the realization that Australia's housing system is essentially a Ponzi scheme that has essentially ruined the idea of the Australian dream for us. Because it's not about the lifestyle or the people in Australia or even the opportunities. It's about the fact that we're all part of the game that's rigged for some and not sustainable for most. And the problem is, I can't unsee it now. Once you realize what's happening, it's hard to go back to thinking everything's fine, because it's not. And I don't have the answers. I'm just reflecting back because I get asked this a lot. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. So if you're feeling the same way and you're curious how we made the move away from Australia, check out this video linked here, because I show exactly how we can afford to and how we've been able to get a better life for ourselves in Southeast Asia. Because at the end of the day, you can just slowly get crushed by the cost of living and the fact that property prices are going to go up forever and there's no real end in sight, or you can vote with your feet and do something about it.